Welcome to the NBA Front Office Show, bringing you inside rumors and transactions around the league with your hosts, Keith Smith and Trevor Lane. Brought to you by LakersNation.com and CLNS Media.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into the NBA Front Office Show. My name's Trevor Lane. You can find me on Twitter at Trevor_Lane or on Instagram at Trevor Lane NBA. The NBA is coming back. We're still excited about that. It's coming up July 31st. I can't wait. News trickling out about exactly what everything is going to look like. I'm thrilled. We're going to be breaking down a lot of different things today. We're going to take a look at the different standings and who could be moving up, who could be moving down. We're going to take a look at who benefited from the hiatus, the suspension of the NBA season. We're going to break all of that down. Don't forget, guys, make sure you are following the NBA Front Office Show on Twitter at Front Office Show. And please make sure you rate, review, and subscribe over on Apple Podcasts. That always helps us out, so we appreciate when you do that. Here with me today, as always, we've got Keith Smith, man of many talents. How are you doing, buddy?
I don't have that many talents, man. That's too much. I don't know if I have any. That's a good question.
Oh, come on.
I can balance things on one finger really good.
Well, that's
like heavy things too.
Okay, see, I didn't know that.
Right?
That's something that's impressive. And on top of that, you're like the salary cap guru. You're the Disney guru. And you chart. I didn't even know you did this until a few months ago. You chart NFL plays. Like, come on, that's many talents right there.
Yeah, the NFL plays thing was gonna go away, but if the income situation stays as is, the NFL play charting is gonna come back into my life again this fall. But yeah, man, no, I'm excited. This week we're gonna talk actual basketball. And not just we've got a little bit of stuff to cover, but then we're gonna get into basketball stuff, and I think that's gonna be pretty cool. So I'm excited about that, man. Who would have thunk we'd be talking actual basketball that's gonna be played here in next month and a half now or so ish, in that range.
Yeah, we're right there. It's within an arm's distance here. We're almost there to the point where teams are going to get back and they're going to start playing. See, like covering the teams and everything and covering the NBA, that's the part where I want to see the games, but once they get back to really practicing, we're going to start hearing, hey, this guy's in shape, this guy's not in shape, and then that gives us a whole other level of analysis to get into.
Exactly. We'll find out unfortunately, we found out with Bojan Bogdanovic. We'll find out, this guy's, a little too banged up to come back. LaMarcus Aldridge, we just found that news out this week. And I know we're going to talk both those teams, so we'll talk about that then. But yeah, it's, I'm excited that we're, back to, kind of doing what we really want to do. Is talking this instead of what could be, what might be, and all these kind of things. And I know as both of us are soccer fans, and MLS announced today with Disney they're coming less than a month. They're going to be on property here in Central Florida at Disney World playing some soccer tournament, which is going to be pretty cool. And it was funny. I loved soccer fans who are already getting all up in arms because Orlando City's not very good, and they were all, which we don't know, right? I mean, maybe they were going to be really good this year. Never get started to find out, but they were all up in arms because they have the A slot in this bracketing thing for the soccer tournament because they're technically the host club. And people were like, why do they get it? They stink. And I was like, yes, sports are back. People are outraged over stupid stuff. This is amazing. I can't wait. So yeah, man, we're almost there. We're getting there.
Yeah, I'm thrilled for that as well, for the MLS to come back. And I know most of our listeners are probably not MLS fans or whatever. That's fine. It's something I grew up with, so I certainly am excited to see them come back. And you know what? Like, big time for Disney, right? To get not just the NBA, but the MLS. I was looking through my closet. Apparently, I do not own a Disney shirt. I maybe this is something I need to rectify, but so that's why I'm wearing my Marvel shirt right now, because I figured that's about as close as I can get at this point.
It works. It's pretty close. You know what's funny? For someone who worked there for almost 20 years, I don't own very many Disney shirts either. Most of the shirts I own are either plain or they are. My mom continually buys me T-shirts every birthday, Christmas, anytime you would send a present. I know that there's going to be Patriots stuff in there, and there's going to be Boston College stuff, and maybe some Celtics stuff mixed in there, and that's all going to be thrown in. So, yeah, I own precious little Disney stuff myself. So, yeah, that's I would have to dig it out. I probably have a sweatshirt or two. That's probably the best I could do.
Okay, well then maybe I don't feel so bad about that. Then
Yeah, you should
not
feel
having
bad.
Disney in my wardrobe. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this whole structure. So we talked a bit about it last week. 22 teams coming back, right? There are some surprises in there. The Washington Wizards, the Phoenix Suns. A little bit surprising that they're back, but you know what? As much as we focus on, okay, the 8-9 tournament, what can that look like? Who can sneak into the 8 seed in the Western Conference? And that's certainly exciting. But there's also some movement that we can see within 8 games that could make a big impact on the NBA playoffs. So let's start with the Eastern Conference, right? The Milwaukee Bucks, they're locked in. 6.5 game lead. They are the number 1 seed in the East. That's not changing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even if they showed up and went 0-8, it's not changing because, Toronto's probably not going, 7-1 to close that gap. That's not going to happen. So, so the Bucks, I think probably the Bucks, and I know we'll talk about the Lakers in a minute, but I think those two teams, probably more than any others, will treat this as a little bit of a just knock the rust off, get guys ready and be ready for the playoffs, which is what they would have done with the final couple weeks of the regular season anyway.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's what they would do. Now, starting though with the Raptors, okay, the Raptors have a 3-game lead over the Boston Celtics. Now that's, to me, that feels pretty safe, but in an 8-game stretch, it's still possible for the Celtics to make a push there for the 2 seed. But do you feel that the Celtics would be all that motivated to put forth the effort they would need to try to get up to the 2? Like the difference would be, right now, if things stay the same, it would be fairly significant because you wouldn't be facing the Philadelphia 76ers in the first round. Instead, you would get the Brooklyn Nets, who will be without Kevin Durant and Kyrie, we now know for sure. But I don't know. Do you think Boston will expend the energy to try to make a run for that 2 seed?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because that's your motivation is to try to get Brooklyn or maybe Orlando if Orlando climbs up into the 7th slot, because I know we'll get to them, but them and Brooklyn are pretty tight. But I think for the Celtics, it's going to be more about making sure they hold off the Heat, who are just behind them by a couple games. Because here's the thing with Toronto, they are, even if if the schedule goes the way we think it's going to go, where you play kind of the next 8 teams on your schedule that are in the bubble, and then there'll be a couple exceptions to that, the Celtics would play Toronto again, which means they could even up the season series at 2-2. And then what that could mean is, all right, if they could catch them, they got to do that. Then they got to get the conference tiebreaker. There's just so many things that make it, I just find it very hard to believe. And we'll come back to Boston in a second. Toronto, I think, really important because Toronto hasn't been healthy. Almost all year. Somebody's always missing. So I think this 8 games is pretty big for them. Not necessarily to win a whole bunch, because we just said it, right? They're only going to win a few times to hold off the Celtics. But I think for them to get back in a rhythm with their main guys, because they should have everybody healthy and ready to go. And did you see the pictures of Marc Gasol that were floating around the internet? I don't know if you saw
it. No, I didn't.
He's skinny man.
Really?
I don't know if I've ever seen him look that skinny. Almost frighteningly so, where I was like, I don't know, dude. Like, it kind of part of your deal now is that you got that bulk and throw dudes around. So that was kind of funny.
But this is we kind of had a mini off season. We always see, we saw jacked Porzingis where he looked like Dolph Lundgren, right? Like, how much of that is really going to translate to game action? Absolutely. But I mean, look, bottom line though, if you're saying that Gasol has lost weight, I think in terms of an older kind of lumbering big man, lightening the load on the joints on the knees and everything, that's usually a good thing, I would think.
I think especially too when you're talking about the fact that this compressed schedule, what it's going to be. You're going to play 8 games in 16 days, which is basically playing every other day to get the seeding games done, and then the playoffs are going to get crammed into about a 2-ish month window or so, and that's not, it's usually, right around that length, but, a little bit longer when we're in the, regular time frame. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do that. And part of that is, why it's going to be so condensed is they're going to have to probably do some back-to-backs and the like, because you don't have all these teams, you don't have 8 different venues going in the first round at a time. You're not going to have 8 venues. So that's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, so, Toronto, Boston, I think Toronto holds off Boston. I think they're probably locked into the 2. Now the Celtics, the question you asked, I'll finally answer it. All this time later, I don't think they really care that much about catching Toronto for 2. If this was normal, I think they would care, because then you're going to get home court advantage in a second round matchup. That doesn't exist here. So I don't think that's the motivator. I think the motivator, the biggest one, is stay on the opposite side of Milwaukee for as long as you can. Yeah, maybe they would care more about getting out of that 3-6 matchup and getting up to play, Brooklyn or Orlando. But I think that's more of a, if it happens, fine. And if you get down to, each side's played 6 of these games and that's still in play, maybe Boston pushes a little harder then to try to move up to 2. But I think they're going to be, again, a team that's dealt with a lot of guys banged up all year long. It's going to be about, let's knock the rust off, get these guys in rhythm together, and then let's head into the playoffs. And then that's where it gets really tight, is after the Celtics, because Miami, Indiana, and Philly are all, bunched together pretty tight.
Yeah, and that's where, it's not guaranteed they're playing the Philadelphia. The Celtics aren't guaranteed to play the Philadelphia 76ers. In fact, I think out of that grouping between Miami, Indiana, and Philadelphia, I think you can make an argument that Philadelphia, if they're fully healthy, is the team that you would least want to see. Although, the Heat and the Pacers are right there. You can make arguments for any of them. But I don't think it's going to stay that way. I think Philadelphia is going to move up, and I can see Indiana sliding down a slot. But we'll get to them in just a second, I guess. The Miami Heat, I guess the motivation for them is move up to that 3, and then you put the Bucks on the opposite side of the bracket. So the Miami Heat are in an interesting position where maybe they could catch up to the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, I look at it similar to what Boston has to do against to catch Toronto. Miami's 3 games behind in the loss column, so they've got to make up that ground to get up there to catch the Celtics. And it just, not impossible, certainly, especially with the fact that nobody's really playing an easy schedule.
Right.
Here you can even make the case, this is when you want to be playing the Bucks and the Lakers, because not a whole heck of a lot to play for either one of them. So why are you gonna subject guys to these injuries? But there's no Cavs, there's no Warriors, there's nobody on there that you're looking at and saying, well, that's a win for sure. So I think it is interesting to look at that and say, to the Heat is, again, I think it's, if they catch Boston, great. But I think it's going to be more, let's push to try to get there. But what I start to wonder is, do you look at it if you're one of those 2 teams and say, well, dropping back to 6, or any of those 3 teams, I should say, dropping back to 6, not the worst thing in the world, because then I get Boston and I'm out of Milwaukee's side. So I'd start to wonder, if you get down to 3 or 4 games to play, if you start playing some seeding games there where it's like, I'm not too, these are all seeding games, but you know what I mean. You're playing your shenanigans, right? You're going through, I'd rather, play the Celtics in the first round and take my chances there. And then if I can beat them, I go into, playing, Toronto in the second round likely versus having to go play Milwaukee. And that's going to be something these teams are going to consider too. I think it's more likely they'll just go out and try to win games and let it fall where it may. But you might get some of that as we get a little later into this thing.
That's an interesting point. I think that they are. I think most teams will just go out there and play. But you know what? On one hand, say you drop to 6. If you are the Indiana Pacers and you're looking at your schedule and you think, okay, if we drop to 6, that means we get the Celtics in the first round. I would rather play the Miami Heat than the Celtics in the first round. And based on point differential, that holds true, right? And point differential tends to give us a decent idea of how good teams actually are. The Celtics are a step up from the Miami Heat. So in that respect, that wouldn't be a good thing to drop to 6, but it's also a pretty big jump from the Toronto Raptors to the Milwaukee Bucks. And if you're looking at the Celtics as a team that you think you can get past, it would make a lot of sense to target that 6th spot, like you said, because then you can avoid Milwaukee for a little bit. So I think that's an interesting idea, Keith. And I don't think it's going to play out that way. But if we do see some weird stuff going on, maybe somebody is angling to get into that 6th seed.
Yeah, and with the Celtics too, I think you can make a case that when Boston's fully healthy, that maybe they are the 4th best team in the league. behind the Bucks, Clippers, Lakers, and then the Celtics. I think they're right on par with Toronto, when they're healthy. They just haven't been healthy for, large chunks of the year. There always was one or two key guys missing out of the lineup almost all season long. So I think that is, something that they're going to be looking at. And that's, Danny Ainge going all the way back to the trade deadline, which now feels like it was like 4 years ago. Danny Ainge, they said, what do you need most? And he said, health. We've got everything we need. We just need health. We need to be healthy going into this. So I think that is, something that's really important as we look at this is, I think you're going to see teams prioritize that, maybe over a lot of other things, especially if it comes down to winning games. But yeah, you could tell me any combination of Miami, Indiana, and Philadelphia, but would be there. Now I'll say Miami, they're going to get Myers Leonard back, who is actually playing pretty good for them. Yes. And he was out injured, he'd been out for a little while, so he'll get back. Just bumps and bruises for everybody, but some of these teams have more bumps and bruises than others. So I think Miami getting healthy is going to be big for them in the playoffs. I also think they're one of the teams that, just mindset wise, I don't think they fear the Bucks. Like, maybe, some of the other teams do. I think they feel like they could go in there and win. I think Philly maybe feels that way as well, because we've seen, they trust Joel Embiid to guard Giannis and, see what he can do against them. And I don't want to skip Indiana, but I started talking about Philly, so I'll come back to Indiana. Philly's going to presumably have Ben Simmons, which is huge. There's an injury that who knows what he would have been if the playoffs had started in mid-April. Right. Now, it's a back injury. I wrote this for Celtics blog today. Celtics fans know probably better than just about anybody what a back injury does. Guy can come back, look awesome for a day, and then be out for 2 months after that because the back locks up on him. So that's something you got to be cautious of. And I would think, all eyes will be on Ben Simmons here as everybody gets back to work. And then Indiana now, the Pacers were just kind of becoming the team we thought they might be as Victor Oladipo was back in the lineup, but then they lost Malcolm Brogdon. Now, presumably, they'll have him back too. And Oladipo, hopefully is, stronger and able to go, deeper into games and those kind of things. So I think the Pacers are going to be a tough out. I just don't know if the Pacers in this compressed environment, I just don't know that they have the depth. I just don't trust, more than maybe a couple guys off their bench, for much more. And I only really trust them to kind of deliver shooting. And that's really about it. So I am, a little bit worried about that. So, yeah, but any grouping there, you could talk me into, any ordering 4 to 6, and that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I look at that group. I look at Miami, I look at Indiana, I look at Philly, and I still just feel like out of that group, if each team were to hit their ceiling, Philadelphia is the best. I think out of that group, they have the highest ceiling out of everybody else. But we don't know what teams are going to look like coming out of this hiatus. We don't know who's been sitting on the couch, who's been putting in work, who's been running wind sprints in their homes. We don't know exactly what impact this is going to have. So who knows exactly what it's going to look like. You know what, though? I'll throw this out there just because we talked about Miami, and then we'll move on to Brooklyn and Orlando. We need to give credit to the Miami Heat because there's been all this talk recently about, hey, you know what, the NBA, they're going to open up transactions coming up here on June 22nd, and it's going to be an open transaction window. And the big disclaimer that I've seen in pretty much every article has been, even for teams that are out of the playoffs, sometimes these late season signings can matter. For example, Miami with Kendrick Nunn and Duncan Robinson. And you know what? Credit to them. I mean, they found 2 starters, right, for free. So tons of credit to the Miami Heat for what they've accomplished.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nunn's a guy who he's in the Rookie of the Year race. Probably second, third for most people behind Ja Morant, maybe Zion Williamson. But he is a guy who, in that, he didn't even play last year, after the Heat signed him, did not play in the NBA. They signed him. He was just a practice guy and then brought him in, and he won the starting point guard job. And, of course, some of that is, to preserve Goran Dragic by bringing him off the bench and playing him less minutes and stagger their lineups a little bit better. So when Dragic is in there, he's the offensive focal point and those kind of things. But, yeah, that's huge. There's going to be somebody who's going to poach, a good player or two, here late in this, late signing period or whatever the heck we want to call it, over over this month, later in this month is what I meant to say, in June, when that opens up. Yeah, somebody's going to get somebody good who makes an impact in the NBA next year. Now, what I don't think is going to happen is I don't think we're going to see anybody signing one who's a huge impact player in the playoffs. That just doesn't, everybody likes to go to PJ Brown, for the Celtics back in 2007 and 8. And yes, that is true. PJ Brown was awesome, but, okay, name me the next one. Right? You can't. There isn't necessarily guys who step up and do huge things this late. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. So with that, but yeah, that's a good call out, man. Good call out for the Heat there, because they're kind of always working. It kind of goes to tell you one of the tenets of our show is working on your roster never stops. It's a year-round thing. You're constantly doing your thing. There's whether you're the college side of the organization or the pro personnel side or the G League side or the overseas side, everybody's always working at all times to try and build these things up, and that's going to be interesting. But yeah, bottom of the conference, Brooklyn, Orlando, I think that one's kind of a dogfight. They'll go all the way. I think that one might be more interesting than some of the others, because I think that neither one of them wants to play Milwaukee. I think, let's be real, neither one of them's going to be Toronto either, barring something real, unless Kyle Lowry shows up looking like the little cartoon I tweeted where he looked like a 300-pound Cabbage Patch Kid. If he shows up like that, then all right, maybe you'll get him.
Right.
But, I don't think, I don't think they're going to win, but I think they're going to fight and do everything they can to get away from Milwaukee. While also, it's only going to take a couple games to get there, but trying to hold off and make sure Washington doesn't figure into this thing, because nobody wants to play those extra playing games if you can avoid it.
Yeah, and I'm not worried about Washington. I don't look at them as a legit threat. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they make a run and everything, but they're 5.5 games back. It's just too big of a gap in an 8-game span for them to realistically make that up. And I just don't think they're not a high enough quality team.
Sorry to interrupt you. They do, just to make sure everybody is on the same page. They only got to get to 4 games, but then it's 4 games, and then they got to beat Orlando or Brooklyn 2 times in a row. And there's a reason that they're 20 and whatever they are. I know you've got it pulled up. I don't have it up in front of me, but they're bad.
24 and 40.
Yeah, there's a reason you're 24 and 40. And they probably weren't going on a 16, 17 game win streak to close to the end of the regular season to get to be a 500 team, where that was in reach for Orlando or Brooklyn to pull that off. But yeah, I don't want to spend a lot of time on them other than if Bradley Beal pulls this off, Bradley Beal is 100% all NBA. No, not even a question in my mind. If he can get them, drag them into the playoffs with, what would have to be a kind of Herculean effort to pull that off, that give him, all the accolades and everything, you want to give him. But yeah, Brooklyn, I do kind of wonder with Brooklyn, where their mindset is at, because, we know Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving aren't going to play.
Right.
They basically, completely squash that unless they're really going to, pull a WWE style reveal here at some, point in one of these games down in Walt Disney World. We'll see what that looks like. So, I do wonder, but, what's interesting with that team is you've got guys who I think are kind of maybe have the mindset of playing for jobs for next year, and trying to impress and show, hey, I can do these things. I should be a part of this team when KD and Kyrie are here. And, this is how I could, really help this team. They've got a couple free agents. You've got a guy like Spencer Dinwiddie, who is, very, very good player. And a lot of people have mentioned as a potential trade target because Kyrie presumably is healthy. I personally don't think they're going to, until Kyrie shows he can make it through 60 or 70 games, never mind, 40 or 50, I don't think Dinwiddie's going anywhere. He's the best backup point guard in the entire league in that situation. But it is it is interesting to see how they go. And then for Orlando, it's there's no reason for them not to do their best to win games. That they should just continue to push. It doesn't sound like Jonathan Isaac or Al-Farouq Aminu are going to play. That would have made a difference. I would have felt a lot better about them in the playoffs. And they haven't completely ruled either guy out yet. It just sounds like they're going to be cautious. And I think that's where all these teams are going to land, just because of, again, this window is so tight to get all these games in. You're asking a lot of these guys, and I don't think they're going to ask these guys to ramp up, relatively quickly to be ready to play, and then, get in there and do that. So, but that's, I probably said a lot more words than I should have about two teams that'll, they're going to play their 8 games, and they're probably going to play 4 or 5 more. Season's over.
Yeah, agreed. And
want to go to the West?
Well, yeah, I just want to say between the two, and by the way, like I get a game and a half back. That's all that Washington needs to make up. I still think that's going to be a struggle for them. Between those two, Orlando and Brooklyn, I don't know why. There's nothing in the advanced stats or anything that tells me I should, but I feel like Orlando is going to move into that 7 seed.
I do too. Yeah, I think they're just going to push harder for it. I think they have more motivation where their almost entire roster, except maybe Evan Fournier, and I think even he's probably a guy who might pick up that player option now versus go the free agency route. I think they're going to push a little harder to get there because there's no reason to not. Where Brooklyn's got a couple guys who are free agents that they might look at and say, yeah, I don't know. Or if, my ankle's not feeling quite right. What am I pushing here for this late in this year and this weird season and the like, when free agency is, what feels like literally days away, from the time the whole thing starts.
Kind of is.
So it'll be, it kind of is for sure. So I don't know, but I'm with you. And that's just the feeling I've had too. And that's nothing against the Nets. I just think the Nets all year, it's felt like the Nets next year is their year. All season long, I've kind of had that feeling on them. Is whatever happens this year happens, and it's all well and good, but next year's their year. So I'm with you on that.
I think even at an organizational level, we've seen that's been the, hey, we're going to get through this year, but that next year Kevin Durant comes back, and so it's all about him.
And if it wasn't right, you would play those guys. You'd say, all right, let's let them out there. I just think they're, and for what it's worth, because I probably haven't said it on the show, they're making the right decision. There's so little upside. Can you imagine you play Kevin Durant in these games at Walt Disney World, and then next year, which starts approximately a month or two after this season ends, and now all of a sudden he's limited at the start of next year because of anything that happened in maybe a 4-game or 5-game loss in the first round. That just no one's going to be happy with that. So they're absolutely, in my mind, making the right decision.
Yeah, agreed. I saw all the people in the comments as soon as it was official that, hey, KD said he's not coming back. All the people in the comments using the Kobe gif where he called Dwight Howard soft and all that. You're like, come on. I mean, I would love to see Kevin Durant out there as well, as long as they're not playing the Lakers. Okay,
he's already coming.
I'd love to see him.
He's already coming back from an injury that ruins careers. Yeah. Of course you should be careful with that. You shouldn't be rushing anybody back from an Achilles. Like, that's just crazy. It's but all right, let's do the West.
Yeah,
man.
let's go West, young man. Here we've got the Lakers 5.5 game lead. I feel pretty confident they're going to stick in that one spot. That should be good. But then after that, you've got the 2-3. You've got the Clippers sitting at 2, 5.5 games back, but they only have a game and a half lead over the Denver Nuggets. And the Nuggets, they started off slow. They weren't exactly what we thought they would be. But I think overall that team still has a lot of talent, and I wouldn't put it past them to make a run, particularly if the Clippers do what they've done all season, which has been, we only care about the playoffs, and if there's a cold wind blowing, Kawhi's going to sit over there on the bench, and we're not going to let him out on the floor. I think that the Clippers are going to be very, very careful with their guys, making sure that they're all good to go for the playoffs, and I could see the Denver Nuggets making a push for that 2 seed.
Yeah, I'm with you, Sue, and I think there's a couple things there. I think you're spot on with the Clippers, kind of taking it careful. I think they're going to do everything they can to make sure they don't drop any further than third. Which who's in fourth right now? Utah, and they're how far behind LA? The Clippers.
Behind the Clippers, they're 3 games back of the Clippers.
So that's a good amount there where I think the Clippers should be able to hold them off. So it starts to almost be a little bit like the Boston-Toronto story, right, in the Eastern Conference, where you want to be 2-3 because you want to be on the opposite side of the bracket from the Lakers. You want to avoid them as long as possible. So I think the Clippers will do what they've done all year. Just make sure we're in the top half. But now I think it's, all right, we see where the Lakers are at, so let's make sure we don't fall further than 3. But it's mostly about, let's get to that first round series with Kawhi, Paul George, Lou Williams, Patrick Beverley, a lot of guys who had been banged up, missed time, they were careful with, whatever you want to call it. Let's make sure that those guys are all good the rest of the way. And I apologize, I just see, all right, it wasn't a big breaking news, sorry. That's just kind of where it's at, right? You get the Twitter notification, you got to look. So it is, so I think that's where the Clippers are at. I think what is a little bit different, or I guess, similar to the to the East as well, is you'd really love to be 2 because then you get to play 7. And I think that's important because then you're getting Dallas most likely is probably going to be the 7th seed. And I love the Mavericks, and I think they've done a lot of good stuff this year. But again, I think they're a team that's a year away from being a real, kind of making real noise. And I think what you'll see there is, if you're the Nuggets or the Clippers, you'd much rather play them than whoever kind of loses the Derby and falls to 6th. The only thing I would say there is keep an eye on whatever happens with Utah.
Yeah.
Because if Utah slips out, do you feel a little bit better without Bogdanovich, that you're feeling a little good about? All right, we'll take our chances with the Jazz.
Yeah, I could say, okay, like I would much rather play the Mavericks at 7 than I would play the Houston Rockets at 6. There's no question there. But I think when you start talking about the Utah Jazz without Bogdanovich, I think then you could maybe really have a debate between Utah and the Mavericks, assuming the Mavericks are fully healthy, and you've got Luka in there, and just how high scoring that offense has been. You look at point differential, the Mavs actually have a higher point differential than the Rockets, the Thunder, or the Jazz, or even the Nuggets. The Mavs have been, when the Mavs get going, they're very, very good. They just have games where they struggle quite a bit too. So I think they're a dangerous opponent, but I agree with what you're saying. If that team that's sitting there is the Rockets.
And I think if you're the Clippers, you look at it as we can throw any number of guys at Luka. We'll throw Kawhi on him, Paul George on him, Beverly on him. We could even go with a couple of the guys off the bench that we can throw at him and just see what it looks like. Give a bunch of different looks, and we can get through that. Maybe he lose a game or two if the Mavs really offense gets cranking. Versus that. But I think you feel pretty good. Where Utah, you're going to be in for just a tough series just because of the way they play. It's going to be hard to play Utah even without Bogdanovich. But I'm with you. I think you could look down there and say, Utah slipped that far. Maybe that's not the worst thing in the world. Again, I think those two teams will play it out. I think Denver probably a little more motivated to get up to the 2 seed, where the Clippers, I think, they're going to prioritize health above all. And I think it wouldn't surprise me if Denver passes them and the Clippers fall to 3. And I don't think the Clippers really care all that much.
See, from a
unless it's, the Rockets or whoever, because I think you're right there.
Right. From a Lakers perspective, I see all of the possibility for movement here. I mean, the Rockets and the Thunder are both tied in terms of the number of games back they are. I would rather see this stay as is, because I don't really want to see the Houston Rockets stay in the second round. I'd rather that be the Jazz or the Thunder. I would rather play the Thunder than I would the Rockets, just because the Rockets give you such a different look. Now, especially, I don't know if you saw the story, but Mike D'Antoni said they're going to play fast. Groundbreaking stuff, right? Mike D'Antoni teams never play fast. What's he talking about? No, but
they haven't, though. That's been kind of the surprising thing, right? They don't play overly fast in there. But no, I hear you. Yeah, I think what it is right, you don't have time to change who you are. Mid-season. I mean, they did from the fact that they're playing super small and those things, but you can't all of a sudden say, hey, James Harden, I know you're already kind of tired. Can you really push the ball, all game long? Like, that's tough. But, okay, I want to say something about the Rockets since they were kind of talking about them. I think they are the team that benefited the most of anybody by this hiatus. I think Ben Simmons is a single player, because I don't know that we would have saw him in the first round otherwise. But I think the Rockets, they were playing so small, with guys playing 2-3 positions up at a time, and then guys playing only playing 7 to 8 guys. You are small and playing a short rotation. That's asking a lot of guys. And by the end of the I keep saying the end of the year, but by the time we went into the suspension of play, they were starting to look real tired. Harden looked like he was dealing with some stuff. Westbrook at times, I know they had spotted him rest days here and there, but even Covington and Tucker were looking a little bit beat up. So I think those guys, because of getting off their feet for as long as they did, I just think that's huge for them, because that really allowed them to rest up. And if they come out playing a little faster, and I wouldn't be surprised if they come in and say, you know what, this is weird. Let's really embrace it. Let's shoot 50, 60 3-pointers a game, and we're really going to let it fly, and whatever happens here. That wouldn't shock me at all. And there's so much variance with them, because I could see them being a team nobody wants to play in the first round. I could see them being a team the Lakers are like, damn it, they were at 6 or they were at we're at 5 and pulled off the upset, minor upset as it would be, but now we got to deal with that in the second round. And that's just I think they're just kind of the team that's, even if you feel good about beating them, they're just going to be kind of a pain in the ass to play. And I think that's the thing you're really looking at, because as you said, they're just so different from everybody else. And you're really going to have to change your style because of the way that they play. You can't do your regular stuff. If you're the Lakers and you get them in the second round, JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard are essentially useless in that series. You're going to have to go to AD at the 5 a lot more, and that puts a lot more pressure on Marcus Morris and Kyle Kuzma, and not Marcus Morris, Markieff Morris. Marcus is on the Clippers. But, puts more pressure on those guys to play big off your bench, and, LeBron at the 4, and, maybe you're going to have to play Caldwell Pope more, and, all those sorts of things, and you start getting into these weird roster combinations that you're having to make when you haven't had time to really do those, because that's what I think the Lakers were really going to use this last month or so of the season, was to start preparing. Let's play. Maybe we might have seen some weird lineups from them. Let's start preparing. Maybe if we see Houston, maybe we do some of this and play all these weird lineups. And I think that would have been kind of huge for them. And now maybe the 8 games of that. Maybe we get that, but that's not a lot of time to start really trying new stuff when you're also trying to knock rust off and redevelop that chemistry you built during the year.
Yeah, I mean, you look at everybody that's here in the Western Conference, they all play a fairly standard game, I think, except for the Rockets. And the Clippers can go small too, and they do with Montrezl Harrell in there. And
the Thunder to close games, because they'll play the 3 guards.
Right, the Thunder will as well. But the Houston Rockets, it's a totally different animal. And it, like we saw when the Lakers played the Rockets earlier this season, and they had just started going small and they didn't have time to adjust or anything, the Lakers were completely taken out of what they were trying to do, and they kept trying to just force the ball inside because they're like, okay, we're a foot bigger than everybody else that's on the floor, and that got messy, and so that's certainly a concern. Like if I'm the Utah Jazz, the Rockets are the team I least want to see, because one of your biggest weapon is Rudy Gobert, right? And you can't play him. So that's going to be an interesting thing. And I'm looking at the Thunder and Rockets being tied, the Jazz only being a game up. There's some shuffling there that could take place that will make an impact on the outcome of the Western Conference. And so that it's something I'm going to be keeping a close eye on. And then even, if things go the other way, if the Rockets decide, hey, we're going to preserve James Harden, we're going to preserve Russell Westbrook, we're definitely in the playoffs, we're not worried about where we land. Like, it's not out of the question either for the Mavericks to make a run for the 6th seed and then get the Nuggets instead of the Clippers. That's a thing that could happen too. There is so much still up in the air here in the Western Conference.
And for the Mavericks too, that really takes you then, if you feel like, hey, we can get up to 6, we can pull off that first round upset.
Get to 5.
Now you don't have to play the Lakers in the second round, right? And that's huge. So it's definitely going to be the West. I think has a lot more room for variance. Just it is so tight and compressed, and that's before you even get to the bottom, which is could be a wild run too. But I'm with you. I think the Western Conference is the one where you're going to really have to be watching, and I think at the end of each night, when all the games are over, you're going to have to hit refresh on the standings page, and you're probably going to see some movement in there, and that'll be fun to monitor. And Utah, we didn't really talk about them too much. I think one of the things with the Jazz that I've always felt for the last few years is they always seem to get off to these slow starts. And I think it's because they run more sets than a lot of teams do. They don't play a lot of freestyle ball out there and those kind of things. They're not real ISO heavy. And I think it takes a while for that machine to really get well oiled and running. And then we see it's right around the holidays each year, they kind of take off. And then by the time we hit the playoffs, it's like, man, Utah's playing good. Then they get in the playoffs and it's all of a sudden it's like, wow, the offense is kind of bogging down again. And I think the reason that happens is because when a team sees you 4, 5, 6 times, now all of a sudden it's, I know what you're going to run here.
Right.
I know how to jam it up. I know how to mess up this set. And then they have been so reliant on Donovan Mitchell to, bail them out of everything the last couple of seasons that just gets really tough. So I think what you're looking at for the Jazz was, well, now we got Bogdanovich can make shots. We got Mitchell who can do his thing late in the clock. And then we got Mike Conley who can also step up. And I think Mike Conley maybe has more pressure on him to step up than any other player does on any team. That's maybe just outside the true contender window, because I think he has to, because otherwise I can't see it with the Jazz. If Conley isn't really, really good, like throwback Memphis Mike Conley good, I don't see any way they beat anybody in the first round. Well, and that's no matter where they fall.
And I
just can't see it.
It really depends on what Mike Conley you're going to get. right? Because the beginning of the season, we saw Mike Conley where Utah Jazz fans were like, "Oh my gosh, what did we get? This guy, this is not the guy that we
Worst
thought we were
contract
getting."
in the league.
Yeah,
Yep.
all of that. But listen to this. The last so on the season, Mike Conley, in terms of his averages, what he's putting up hasn't been great. I mean, he shot 40% from the field, which isn't great. 38% from three, okay, fine. 13.8 points and 4.3 assists. Not very Mike Conley style averages. You would expect more. The last 5 games, right? The last 5 games before they pulled the plug on everything, 16.4 points, 5.6 assists, 48% shooting, 45% from deep. Maybe those percentages are a little bit higher than they normally would be, but that sounds a lot more like the Mike Conley that you were expecting. 1.4 steals per game, and his play did start to pick up. And so I think the Jazz,
and I think he was finally healthy.
He was
too, because he had been really dealing with a lot of stuff prior to them. But yeah, I'm with you.
So that makes Utah a different hand. Now losing Bogdanovich, maybe that step, maybe you get 2 steps forward with Conley and 2 steps back with Bogdanovich. That's possible. But I will say that he gives them a lot more of a puncher's chance than if they still had that older version or that early season version of Mike Conley. It reminds me a little bit of Joe Mixon. Right, with the Cincinnati Bengals, the beginning of the season last year, he was terrible, but you knew there was more to him than that. He just wasn't getting the opportunities, the sets weren't right, all that sort of stuff. And then the second half of the season, he exploded. Kind of the same thing with Mike Conley, where at the beginning of the season, he wasn't great, but you knew there was something better there, and then we started to see it. So that could change Utah's fortunes, but still, out of that grouping, out of Utah, Oklahoma City, and Houston, I think Houston is the cream of the crop there, and then you can rank OKC and Utah in some way.
Yeah, and let's talk about OKC for a minute, so we don't skip over them and then get yelled at for small market bias. But maybe them and the Grizzlies, 1 and 1A for surprises of the year. I didn't have either one as anywhere near being playoff teams, and here we are. Looks like both may be playoff teams, and I think OKC, the way hats off to Chris Paul. Man, that dude he's awesome. Every time I'm like, I think that's it. He's starting to slip.
Everlasting.
He's still good. Mid-range killer, right? I mean, just he's gonna hurt you there. And I think it's funny. I think them and Houston both, they would really love Utah in the first round.
Yes.
And I think that they just because they both have the ability to negate Gobert quite a bit because Chris Paul's he's just gonna pull up. He's just going to pull up from mid-range and knock in jumpers. He's never going all the way to the rim. So that's going to be really tough. But yeah, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander really blossoming into a star. I think think now it's starting to become clear that maybe he's not really a point guard, but he's a really, really good secondary playmaker and scorer. And I think that's actually the better role for him, and that's going to allow him to blossom into the player he's become. Dennis Schroeder, he was my pick for Sixth Man of the Year because he's been so good this year, behind Paul and SGA, and he's just playing there where it's closing games with all three of them. Steven Adams just kind of does his thing. Nerlens Noel, you have 48 minutes of pretty good rugged center play there. What I worry about is on the nights when maybe Paul's jumper's off a little bit and maybe you can control SGA. Is Schroeder going to be enough to make up that scoring? The forwards are just they might be some of the worst in the league.
I mean,
it's just not very good. That's true. I forget about him because he misses time so often. So good
but
call,
he can blow up.
That's right. He could be big, for them. But behind him, that's tough, right? Darius Baisley, maybe he'll be back. Abdel Nader, these guys are role players. Who in they're ideally role players you wouldn't even be playing that much. But yeah, that was my bad on Gallinari. So he should be really good. So yeah, I think they're a fun team though. I think if they I think it's going to be Houston and OKC angling a little bit to try and get to either, it's going to be funny. Whoever gets Utah, great. And the other one's going to be like, all right, well, if we fell out of the into the mix into 6 and we avoid the Lakers until the conference finals, we feel good about that. But what's funny is I think it's going to be just as much, it'll be interesting, which says that probably tells me OKC and Houston will play each other in the first round. Because I think they're both going to be angling to try and avoid each other because I think they actually OKC might match up with Houston a little bit better than some of the other teams, can, as far as I think you go to Noel a little bit more. in that series, because he's a little more mobile, can do a little more things around the perimeter and the like. But yeah, they're a fun group, man. I love OKC. I love watching them play. Just because they're so tough. So don't hold it against me, Thunder fans, that I'm on my like 5th podcast and 7th radio interview of the last 2 days, and I forgot about Danilo Gallinari. That's my bad. That's completely my fault.
I think they'll forgive you for that one, Keith. And you know what? I'm looking at that grouping and I'm thinking, man, okay, you're going to get one team is going to wind up out of Utah, OKC, and Houston. One of those teams is going to wind up having to play Denver in the first round, and that's going to be tough. So I think they're going to be angling to
or the Clippers
or the Clippers. Yeah, if they drop back, that's going to be, man. However the West falls, there's going to be somebody who isn't thrilled with the matchup that they wound up with.
Yeah.
Again, if I'm Utah though, the team that I'm trying to just stay away from the Houston Rockets if I can. If there's any way possible, I'm getting away from that team. Like if I'm Utah, I'd rather play Denver. I'd rather play OKC than play the Rockets because of that center issue. But
yeah, if it comes down to that last day and Utah can throw a game and that gets them out of playing the Rockets, I don't care who it means they have to play. I wouldn't be surprised if they're like, oh yeah, Mitchell and Gobert got in a fist fight in the locker room and now they can't play today. So it's suspension, for the two of them, and they just throw the game, completely away. Cause they don't want any part of the Rockets. Not again. That's like the worst nightmare scenario for, I think, Jazz fans.
To flip it around, I think the one team that Houston does not want to see is the Clippers. I think that's the team that is best equipped to deal with the small ball from the Houston Rockets. So they'll do what they can to avoid them. Let's jump to the bottom.
Especially with Marcus Morris.
Yes.
Sorry. With Marcus Morris, too, because they could go to a front court of Morris, Leonard, and George and be super small, just like the Rockets are, and match up with them without any worries.
Yes, exactly.
So, I'm with you.
Let's jump to the bottom of the table, though. You've got the Memphis Grizzlies, and then the Portland Trailblazers actually got a little boost when it was determined that the NBA was going to go by win percentage rather than games back. So that actually gives them an advantage because they've played more games than the New Orleans Pelicans. So technically, if, say, the Blazers go 6-2 and the Pelicans go 6-2, the Blazers would go ahead. They'd be in front there. But you've got the Sacramento Kings in the mix. The Spurs, we just found out they lost LaMarcus Aldridge. I don't see them as being a real threat to claim that 9 or even 8 seed. The Suns, I don't see them being in the mix either. So, Keith, how do you see things playing out for that 8th and 9th seed in the Western Conference, where I know there's going to be a lot of attention paid to that final spot?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, and I've made it, said this before too, and I just realized it's got to be really dark in here right now because it's thunderstorming outside, so it went from bright and sunny to super dark.
I wasn't on our video screen, so it's like you're suddenly, I don't know, like you're in a haunted house or something there, man.
Yeah, right. That's what happened, man. That's what happens here in Central Florida. We get this is why games can't be played outside here because mid afternoon, early evening, we get thunderstorms roll through. Looks like the world's gonna end, and then it'll be sunny here in probably about 20-30 minutes and beautiful for the rest of the night. But yeah, back to basketball. I've made the joke too that, who cares? We're making so much of this for whoever the Lakers are going to rampage over in the first round. But I do think that there is something to it. I don't know that the Lakers really overly want to play Memphis and a bunch of young dudes who are going to, run up and down and make the Lakers have to chase them and those kind of things. John Morant being a blur out there. Still, the Lakers will win that series, but you're going to have to work probably a little harder in those games than you really ideally would like to. Then I really don't think you want to play the Trailblazers. You don't want to deal with Damian Lillard unless you have to. He could win a game or two all by himself. And now all of a sudden it's a series, and you certainly didn't expect that.
Especially a healthy
in the first
Blazers
round
with Zach Collins and Yusuf Nurkic coming back.
Yusuf Nurkic, exactly. And that's going to be huge because, that's been kind of their thing. And, Hassan Whiteside, Melo's played pretty good for them, actually. I think, he's been a net positive signing. Their defense fell apart, but their defense stunk anyway. So, now Melo's in there giving them some scoring from the 4 position. Trevor Ariza has helped a little bit defensively. You've got, I think they're going to be a tough team. But yeah, as I look at it, I think, I hope it doesn't come down to that whole, win percentage thing, because I just don't want to listen to it. And it might, and I fear that it may. But yeah, I think, Portland and New Orleans, I think, are the only ones who have realistic chances of getting into the play-in scenario with Memphis, and they are the only ones I think have realistic chances of beating Memphis twice in a row to actually claim the 8th seed. San Antonio, I'm writing them off, and maybe I'm wrong. I've done it before, but cool. One of my favorite stats, and I'll repeat it here: the Spurs have made the NBA playoffs every year in this is their 44th season. They have missed the playoffs 4 times.
This is ridiculous.
Prior to this,
it's ridiculous.
4 times.
And here's the thing: they miss it this season. They can put a little asterisk by it, and they could say, but that doesn't really count because it wasn't a full season.
Well, and then they'll miss it. They'll miss it. Jump way up in the lottery. Draft pick. James Wiseman, and he'll be awesome, right? Because two of those 4 years. One year they got David Robinson. The other time Tim Duncan. So, I mean, come on. That's why they've made the playoffs for 22 straight seasons right now. But I'm calling them done. The Suns, they're as done as the Wizards are. They're good for them, though. Good for them to get back. Young guys, great experience to play, essentially they're meaningful games for them down the stretch here. So, good for them to be in there. And the Kings, I love the Kings, but I feel like the Kings are just, I don't know, man. I could see them maybe making a run, but I could also see them, maybe more than any other team, it just implodes around them because it just seems like, Buddy Hield's not overly happy. Bogdan Bogdanovic is a free agent after the season. Who the heck knows what's going on with Marvin Bagley? He's, been injured all year long. So I just don't really fully know what to expect from that team. But I think, they'll be fun to watch because I like watching that team. So that really, I'm really saying it's Memphis, Portland, and New Orleans for that last spot. I think because of their inherent advantages of, one, they've got to at least stay even to where they're at, Portland and New Orleans, to get into the play-in scenario with Memphis, right? Because they're both 3.5 back. Is that right? Or New Orleans is 4 back?
Yeah. So they're all 3. So the Blazers, Pelicans, and Kings are all 3.5 games back of the Memphis Grizzlies for the 8th seed.
So you got to at least play even with them, right, to get there, because you got to be within 4 games. So that's the first part, and then, but then you got to play even to even get there, and then you got to beat them twice in a row. I'm gonna give the advantage to Memphis, which is the way it was set up and the way it should be. But it's not going to surprise me at all if Portland comes through there and wins this thing. I wouldn't be surprised if Portland shows up there, goes like 7-1, and then beats Memphis twice in a row is in. That would surprise me a little bit more with New Orleans. But I'll tell you what, man, I'm going to enjoy the heck out of watching at a minimum 8 more New Orleans Pelicans games this year with that team fully healthy. That's going to be a blast.
Yeah, you look at this setup and the way it's run. Yeah, like the Blazers could very well go 7-1, like you said. And the thing is, they play the Grizzlies twice in that stretch. So
yes, that's huge.
That could change things very, very quickly. I disagree that the Grizzlies are a team the Lakers wouldn't want to see. I think they are the team the Lakers want to see that are realistic possibilities. I would rather see the Grizzlies anyway than the Blazers or the Pelicans. That's just me. I think even though they're young, I think they are so young. They have not enough experience where an experienced team like the Lakers will be able to handle the Grizzlies. Whereas the Blazers,
that's fair.
You look at what the Blazers can bring. You've got a center combo of Nurkic and Whiteside. That kind of negates what the Lakers have with JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard in there. Usually they've got a bit of a size advantage there. And if you're bringing back Zach Collins, I think that's a different look to throw on Anthony Davis, and not saying that Zach Collins can defend Anthony Davis to any necessary degrry, but otherwise, earlier in the season, we were talking about Carmelo Anthony on Anthony Davis. Like that was happening.
Yeah, just some size.
Yeah, and that's that doesn't work. So I think the Blazers are a real threat. The Pelicans are such a fast-paced team. I was looking up this stat the other day. The Pelicans, in terms of the amount of distance covered per game, are number 1 in the NBA. The Lakers are 29th in the NBA. Just a totally different scheme, different idea, and that kind of diversity between what the Lakers want to do and what the Pelicans want to do. If the Pelicans are able to enforce their will, maybe they can give the Lakers a series there. The Kings I'm not too worried about in terms of matching up with the Lakers, but I'll also say it feels like we are kind of writing them off, even though they have even odds here. And looking at all of these teams, the Grizzlies, Blazers, Pelicans, Kings, Spurs, Suns, over the last 10 games before the season ended,
playing really good.
The Kings had the best record. They were 7-3.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, they were playing great. They were finally to the point where they were, other than Bagley, they were as healthy as they I think had been almost all year, and they were really playing well. It's I just wonder, when you've got guys like Harry Giles and Bogdan Bogdanovic or free agents, what happens if you lose your first couple? Then are all of a sudden are those guys like, I'm not so overly interested in diving on the floor for that loose ball or whatever the case is, and that's what I think we're going to really see here. And again, I'm going to be a broken record on this. It's no different than the 2 weeks in April before the season ends each year. You really get in there, and that's kind of the mindset guys have. They're kind of turning things off and going into the next year. But yeah, I'll tell you what's funny is that you made some good points, on the Pelicans. The other piece too is, if it's the Pelicans and Lakers, well, man, that's the storylines upon storylines.
Adam Silver's dancing.
Oh, of course, man. Zion got in, and you got those. You got that matchup. You're going to get 4, 5, 6 games of Zion against LeBron. Like, give that to everybody. But then, do those Pelicans guys do? Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, and Brandon Ingram have a little bit more for the Lakers? Do they, kind of want to stick it up their butt to, hey, we're here and we're ready, and that team is, they're tough. And and it's funny. I'm so glad you pointed out how slow the Lakers play, because we all have this image of LeBron being this freight train in transition, which he is, but that's like twice a game now, that he does, those kind of things where he, rips and runs and goes all the way down the floor and, just outruns everybody. It's not like it once was, where it was, he was constantly up and down the floor running. And that's not a knock. I mean, the dude's in year 100 in the league, and he's played about 5 billion minutes. So, I don't blame him at all for the style he plays, but that's the mistake people make. They think his teams play fast, and they never do. So I'm with you. And I know the Grizzlies, I don't have it right in front of me. I don't think they play super fast either, but I just, I just think those are the teams the Lakers would, I don't think you just want to be chasing those young guys up and down the floor if you can avoid it. But then if it's either one of those, you take either one of those two before you take Portland.
For sure.
I would be terrified of Dame. I'd just be terrified that he's going to come in, over the course of a series, average, 45 points a game, and and he's going to steal a couple, and then the next thing you know, you're down the wire in a game 6 trying to avoid a winner take all game 7 with Damian Lillard with the ball in his hands. Yeah, nobody wants that, because I think Dame's just one of those dudes. You could, again, I say this a lot, you could play games on the moon, and he's going to show up and do his thing and be the guy he is. So yeah, man, I think it's going to be a lot of fun there. I think it's going to be really interesting and a real battle there at the very end.
Yeah, it certainly is. And just looking at pace, I just pulled that up. The Pelicans are second in the NBA in pace, second surprisingly a little bit to me to the Milwaukee Bucks. So Pelicans are second.
Yeah,
Memphis Grizzlies are 7th in the NBA in pace. Lakers are 12th. And I can't get it to load for whatever reason, but as I recall, the Lakers were pretty solid in terms of fast break points. They were scoring quite a few points in fast break situations. But you look at their general offense, it's LeBron with the ball and a lot of other guys spotting up. It's not a lot of movement. The Pelicans are flying all over the place. That's going to be a differentiator there.
That's it. And then you got JJ Redick. You got to chase him around screens for the whole game, and that's always a pain, to do stuff like that. They're starting to use Ingram in that way too. And then, just as you're focused on those things, then you got Zion slips a screen, and the next thing you know, you throw it somewhere just shy of the rafters in the gym, and he goes up and gets it and dunks it. Right. So yeah, I'm with you, man. The only 2 teams in the West I'm fully writing off are the Spurs and the Suns, which you know what that means. The Spurs are going to get this AC because it's what happens when we write the Spurs off is they do that. But yeah, I can't wait.
It's gonna be
so cool. The thing that I love is too, we don't have to watch the Lakers steamroll over the Cavs late in the year.
Right.
That those games don't exist. These games are all between pretty good teams, or at least teams that have something to play for. Now, there's going to be a couple teams by the end who are like, all right, I'm like Washington, they lose their first 2, well, they're done. And then are they just like, whatever, let's just play this thing out and get out of here. So that's, I think that's going to be, interesting to see how that goes down. But yeah, it's going to be a blast, man. And games all day. Sign me up, dude. You got to be loving that you're a teacher right now and going to be home for the vast majority of this. That must be.
I'm not actually. I'm going back right. I go back right before it all starts up.
All right, I'm gonna make a phone call and tell him I need you. Special project work. Get a sub.
Let's do it.
You know, Trevor will be back. He'll be we roll in sometime in September.
That sounds
is when he'll be available.
That sounds like a plan to me. You know what? You mentioned the Wizards. If the Wizards lose the first two, I'm gonna be keeping an eye on how closely Bradley Beal is hanging to the Brooklyn Nets. he's gonna be over there going, hey, you guys want to trade for me?
Right, who's cozying up to Bradley Beal at the pool at the resort? You know, where they're all kind of together. Though it's going to be funny because I said we're going to get those stories after. Remember, it was all about the Olympics. Mm-hmm. How that's where they built those teams. We're going to get those stories. 5 years of where we really developed our relationship was that year we did Disney at the Disney bubble. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, man. But no, man, I can't wait. I know we're wrapping up here because I got to run to do some radio here. But this is awesome. How good was it to talk basketball again?
It's amazing.
Like actual talk about basketball. Amazing. What I will say is coming up on the show, Trevor and I are already kind of mapping this out a little bit. We're going to start talking about the 8 teams as John Hollinger named them the Delete 8, which is, I think, absolutely hilarious. Yeah, right. That is fantastic. We're going to start talking about those teams and getting into their off seasons and really going in depth on what it is we think they need to do and cap scenarios and trade exceptions and all the like there, and kind of do what we do on that. And then once we actually see matchups and schedules and all those things, then we'll come back. We'll break down the full playoffs, give our predictions, of course, because that's something you have to do. And we'll go from there. But yeah, I can't wait. I think this is going to be really phenomenal to get into all this and really see when this are all coming together. I'm hearing maybe late next week we may have that the 8 seed games scheduled. Oh, cool. We may know what that schedule is. It sounds like what they're targeting towards. They're just trying to finalize some stuff. This is it sounds easier than it is, and it doesn't even sound easy. And that's so that's what a massive undertaking this is. But yeah, man, we're almost there. Next month. By the time you hear us next, it'll literally be a month and a half.
We'll be right there
to this thing happening. We can't wait.
Yeah, that's true. It's going to be amazing. Can't wait for NBA basketball to come back, and so close. That is right around the corner. Guys, don't forget, rate, review, and subscribe to this show on Apple Podcasts. We always love reading your reviews on there. It certainly helps us grow. Appreciate you guys listening, and if you're watching on the Lakers Nation YouTube channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and then ring the notification bell. Get notified every time we have a new video coming out. Make sure you're following Keith on Twitter at KeithSmithNBA. You can follow me at Trevor_Lane on Twitter, at TrevorLaneNBA on Instagram. Keith, any final thoughts before we call it a show here?
Nah, man, hit us with those 5-star reviews. Tell a friend. Give us a rating too. Even if it's just something as simple as love the show. Those really do help. The rating, the ratings help, but those reviews, help quite a bit too. And then tell friends. And if you don't like the show, feel free to tell us so we know what to do better next time. We can't change who we are. I can't change how I look. That I'm sitting in a completely dark house right now, other than turning the lights on next time. But I'll try to do that. But yeah, psyched, man. Can't wait. Yeah, I'm super excited that we're doing this every week because I think we're hitting our rhythm. That's now, right, man, and we couldn't have picked a better time.
That's right, we're rolling. All right, guys, thanks everybody for listening and watching, and please make sure, guys, you stay safe. Till next time, see ya.